Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here, returning to you for this last video for the night. One of the last videos, I guess you could say, for Silverstein's album's worst to best list that I wanted to do for you guys. And this is a publicized video, keep in mind, so everyone's going to be able to see it. What I think in my worst to best list, what I think is the least favorites to the favorites. So, I guess you could call it average to best, if I'm being honest. Uh, so, pretty much, let's dive right into what I'm going to be talking about in this uh, Silverstein albums. I guess I'm going to re-edit it, call it albums or average to best. So, let's dive into this video. I don't know why I said albums. I meant to say average to best. My wording's been a little off lately. But other than that, at number 11, we have Silverstein Dead Reflection. I think Dead Reflection is a prime example of their weakest record. It's not one of the worst, but it's not one of the best. There are some interesting tracks on here, like The Afterglow is a good song. Cut and Run's pretty good. Wake Up is my favorite. It's closing track to the record. And just overall, the rest of the record plays it alright. Retrograde's pretty good, but most of the other tracks are fairly average to hit or miss in a way. But this is probably at the top tier of the list. So it's an average record, but it's not one of the best records that I've listened to in Silverstein's discography. And Shane told vocally, it doesn't sound bad, but it's just, it depends. Some of the vocals in here are a little iffy. So, Dead Reflection is at my number 11. Number 10 is Short Songs. Because this was a pretty short record, keep in mind, like about 20 minutes or so. So you're not in for a long listen. But from what I gathered with this, there's some catchy tracks, like the Short Songs, Dead Kennedys cover was interesting, and some of their regular songs on the regular edition of the record for the 11 tracks, if you don't include the extra tracks. Excuse my yawning tonight, I'm just, about ready to get ready for bed pretty soon. So, pretty much, number 10 is Silverstein Short Songs. I don't really think I got much left to talk about with this record. They did a Green Day cover on this Short Songs album, but it's not terrible. It was fine, but it was very short. So, yeah. Number 9 is A Shipwreck in the Sand by Silverstein. It's a good record in its own way. So pretty much from 10 to 8 are the good records. 10 to 9 are the good records, and then we get to the pretty good records all the way down to the best. So, basically, Shipwreck in the Sand is a good album, but there were a few tracks that were not my cup of tea. Like, some of the cover tracks were a little iffy, but not everything on this record was terrible. This was their 2009 record, so it was their 4th album. But overall, it's strong in its own way, but I have my critiques with how it sounds for the rest of the record, so it's fine in its own way. So I'd give this a 8 out of 10. Like I gave it when I rated it on my members only videos. If you have not joined my membership, definitely join my membership if you want to be able to watch the newly released members only Silverstein Marathon Studio album reviews for those re-reviews. That's the only way you're going to be able to know what I rated them currently, because I just finished up on their discography like about a week ago. So, pretty much that's my number 9 pick, A Shipwreck in the Sand. It does have some interesting singles on there. The End is my favorite, featuring Lights. Ooh, excuse my yawning. But overall, good record for how it sounds. The first opening track was pretty strong. Something about a broken fire or something, or whatever it was called. But overall, a great fire. That's what it was called. So, number 8 is Rescue by Silverstein. Pretty strong record for how it sounds. There's a few hit or miss moments with this record for the execution, but we played it safe. And I am so sorry about my yawning in this video. I'm just getting really exhausted. But overall, I think Rescue did have some strong songs on the record. One of them being Texas Mickey, featuring Anthony Ranieri. The artist was pretty good as well. Replace You's pretty good in its own way. I think the opening track's pretty strong. Sacrifice is good. Forget Your Heart's pretty strong. So there's quite a bit of good tracks on this record, but there are a few hit or miss moments. But that's my number 8 pick for Silverstein Rescue. Number 7 is Silverstein When Broken Is Easily Fixed, their first album, their debut record. I chose to put this at number 7 because there are some strong tracks and then there's some iffy tracks. They're only 12 songs in and it's not a bad listen. Pretty strong listen. Smashed Into Pieces, the opening track. It's pretty strong. Giving Up, not bad, but overall, the rest of the record plays it in a safe way and in a pretty good way. So, did not hate this record and strong listen. Had to be in the top 7. So, it's close to the top 5, but it didn't quite make the top 5. If you get what I'm saying, because of the rating I gave it. So, number 6 is Silverstein. This is How the Wind Shifts, the deluxe edition, addendum, or whatever it was called. Massachusetts is my favorite. Stand Amid the Roar is a good one. But yeah, Massachusetts is their strongest song on their record. Better Place is my favorite one. You have other tracks like This Is How, the intro. California is pretty strong too. To Live and to Lose is my favorite. With Second Chances is pretty strong. You got quite a bit of good tracks on Brave Mountains We Conquer, but still, Stand Amid the Roar is the best track on the record, along with Massachusetts. So you're in for a pretty good intro to this record. The intro of the album is the best part of This Is How the Wind Shifts. Everything else is not bad, but it depends. Because there's some tracks that do good and some tracks that are just iffy. But overall, the structure and the execution did really good. That's my number 6 pick. Number 5 is Misery Made Me by Silverstein. I really enjoyed this record. You have tracks like Our Song, which is my favorite. Die Alone, which is a pretty strong track. Ultraviolet's pretty good. Cold Blood is pretty strong. It's Over is pretty strong. The Altar Mary is one of my favorites. My favorite one is Slow Motion featuring Mike Renica in that track. One of the best tracks, if I'm being honest, in my opinion. So, sorry, I'm seeing my cat in the frickin' dresser right now. I'll have to get him out in a second. So, pretty much from what I listened to, the only one I had an issue with was Don't Wait Up, but the tracks Live Like This. Then you have some of the live versions of the record on the deluxe edition. Poison Pill was a pretty strong track. So the Stitches, Merry Orchestral is pretty strong too of a song. But execution-wise, this record pulled it off for what it was going for. And it was my last members-only video that I did almost a week ago. If you have not checked that out and joined the membership, keep in mind, joining my memberships range from $2.99 to $9.99. Just keep in mind of that. And just do whatever you can afford, of course. I don't try to force it on people unless I'm really trying to make some money. And I just got paid through YouTube just recently, so it really helped out. I can tell you that much. But other than that, Misery Made Me is at my number 5 from Silverstein. Number 4 is Silverstein, A Beautiful Place to Drown. Pretty strong release from Silverstein. I've really grown attached to this record a lot. It had to be in my top 5 because some of the tracks like Madness, Stop are my personal favorites. All on Me is pretty good of a track. It plays it safe, but it's pretty good for how it sounds. You have September 14th is a strong one. Coming Down is pretty good, but not one of my favorites. And then Take What You Give is pretty good with Pierre from Simple Plan. Then you have Bad Habits, which is a song about someone repeating a vicious cycle of bad habits and reliving something that's mentally affecting the person, and they're just in a toxic situation, toxic bubble in a way you could say. But overall, from what I listened to for A Beautiful Place to Drown, it's a strong release from Silverstein, and I really enjoyed this release from Silverstein. Infinite's pretty good. I think Burn It Down was my favorite. But there's quite a bit of songs on here that were personally my favorite. So, pretty strong release, and I recommend you guys check out A Beautiful Place to Drown by Silverstein. Number 3 is I Am Alive in Everything I Touch by Silverstein. A strong release. Give me a second, I gotta pause the video. Sorry about that, guys. I had to attend to something real quick. Something needed my attention real quick. This cat was scratching my wall or whatever. So other than that, I Am Alive in Everything I Touch had some pretty good tracks like Late on 6th. Toronto Unabridged was pretty good. You have songs like, what is it, A Midwestern State of Emergency. Toronto abridges the opening track to the record. It's an intro track. It's like almost a minute long. Face of the Earth's pretty strong. Heaven, Hell, and Purgatory is my favorite. Buried at Sea is pretty good. Milestone is my favorite. The Continual Condition, not terrible, but not one of my favorites. Desert Nights, it's alright. In the Dark is a strong one. Yea May Souvenirs, I believe is how you pronounce it. Good one. And like I said, Toronto on a Bridge is like an intro. Well, it's an outro to the song record, but it's like a 5-minute song. But other than that, strong release from Silverstein. And now we're getting to the top 2, the last 2 that I'm going to mention, which is Arrivals and Departures by Silverstein. for number 2. Great record. Really enjoyed this one. Um, Sound of the Sun is my favorite. Then you have If You Could See Into My Soul, which is one of my personal favorites. I love the guitar riff in this track. Sounds really good. My Disaster is pretty strong. Um, and then you have Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, which is a pretty good one. Vanity and Greed is alright. Rain Will Fall is my favorite on the deluxe, the bonus track to the record. Um, Bodies and Words is pretty strong too. So The Sand Will Turn to Glass is a pretty good one. Still Dreamin's pretty strong. So there's quite a bit of good tracks on this record, and I really enjoyed how it sounded overall. So other than that, strong release. And now at my number 1, which I think you know which is my number 1. Drum roll, please. Discovering the Waterfront by Silverstein. Smile in Your Sleep is one of their best tracks. Then you have My Heroine is pretty strong. There's quite a bit of good tracks on this record. Ides of March is pretty strong. Your Sword versus My Dagger is pretty strong. The title track's pretty good. There's, like I said, almost all the tracks impressed me for their sophomore record. Their second album was one of their best and one of my favorites. So I really enjoyed this Silverstein release from them in 2005. And this record is technically 20 years old as of this year, because they're dropping 2 albums this year, which is Anti-Bloom and Pink Moon, I meant to say. But other than that, they're going to have a 20th anniversary edition to celebrate the 20 years of Discovering the Waterfront being out for that long. But other than that, strong release. I really enjoyed it. It was a 10 out of 10, a perfect score. And this album packed a punch, and Shane Told's screaming potential, and most of it was pretty strong. So that is my number 1, which is Silverstein Discovering the Waterfront. And with that being said, that's going to be it for this average to best list of Silverstein albums. I hope you enjoyed this list. It's not worst to best, but it's average to best. I am stuttering with what I'm saying, so please forgive that. Still, really strong release from Silverstein. For most of their discography, does have some good releases and pretty good releases. But I think when you get to like the top 5, you start to get the more interesting albums. I think when you listen to their later records, it gets better with certain ones. Just depends on how they sound overall. Can't wait to see how Anti-Bloom turns out when it comes out February 21st. So in another few weeks from now. About almost 3 weeks from now. But I think it's only 8 songs, keep in mind. It's not going to be a long record, but it's going to be an interesting one for 8 songs. And then we're going to get another record later on in the year for Pink Moon. So at least they're dropping 2 releases with 8 tracks, most likely. But other than that, that is it for my list. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what's on your list for average to best Silverstein records in your opinion, because most of their discography is pretty strong, keep in mind. I just wanted to do this video to let you know that I have a new re-reviews on my members only videos, but you have to be a member of the channel in order to watch those videos. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video tonight. I'll probably have like a little update video on some things. And with that being said, thanks for watching this special video tonight. Have a good night.